Hi guys, it's Megan here. Happy 13th day of Lent. Today's reflection is all about obedience. Now, that's such a fun topic, am I right? Um, Obedience. And I say this because a lot of us in our lives, um, sometimes it's hard to obey the will of God or to trust, um, especially when we have like big group projects or when we have to rely on others. Sometimes it gets a little bit hard to really even obey our leadership when we don't see where it's heading. It's easy to obey and trust people at the beginning because you give them the benefit of the doubt. But when we start to see things that get a little bit rocky or seem a little bit weird or off the map, it's kind of like, do I do I really trust you enough to obey everything? Right, that comes into question. And it's kind of like that with our relationship with Christ sometimes, or even thinking back to the disciples when Jesus first started his ministry, even when looking at the wedding of Cana, when they were like, we're desperate, we don't know what to do. And Mary was like, do whatever he tells you. Jesus says, all right, go bring me the water, go bring the jars of water. And he makes it into wine. And at that point, it was easy for the servants to obey because, well, they had nothing else to do. They had nothing else to lose. They were up a creek without a paddle, so to speak. And even after that, when people who knew about that miracle, it was easy to obey because, like, they knew what was happening. They had trust. Like, okay, he's showing the results. It's easy to follow. But imagine the disciples, even along the entire ministry as they were going along, um, healing people, witnessing these miracles, casting out demons, all that fun stuff, and fun stuff. And then they get to the point up to the Passion, or just before the Passion, even when we're talking about, okay, Jesus, you say that things are going to get a little bit dicey now. And then all of a sudden, you're like, okay, there are soldiers coming after us. Um, okay, Jesus, you have like a bounty on your head. Like maybe we should dip. And it starts to get a little bit hard to not trustfully, but you start to question your obedience. Like, okay, like Jesus, I know you said this, but like maybe we should do this, or I did this instead because I thought this is what you need. We kind of get like that in our lives with God when we don't necessarily see the end results or where we're heading. When we talk about obedience, right, it's to comply to the command or the direction or the will of someone, right? Do we comply to the direction that God has taken us in our lives? Sometimes not so much. And even in our times of doubt and trials, when we pray, some people complain that they don't hear the answer of to what it is that they're going through. But actually, I think a lot of us, we may not hear the answer, like we don't hear God's voice necessarily, but sometimes we kind of see the direction or we might get an answer um, in where to go, but we don't necessarily like it, right? And so it's hard to obey or even acknowledge an answer or result of something or where God might be leading us to when it's not aligned with what we want necessarily, or if we think that it could be better. And so, if you ever find yourself in a situation this Lenten season, and not just this Lenten season, but throughout life, where you question what is happening and you pray and you think that the Lord might be leading you one place or another that's completely different from where you're originally heading, um, open up yourself to obedience. Obey. Do whatever he tells you. Just like Mama Mary says, do whatever he tells you. And that's easier said than done. And so I pray that we all grow in obedience, that we all may have the heart to open up and see what God's will and direction is for each and every one of us, whether it be a situational thing or whether it be in our lives and our vocations. That is my reflection for today. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.